Okay. Hey guys, what's up? If you're new here, my name's Zoe and welcome to my channel where I love to talk about books. So as you could see by the title of the video, today I'm going to be going through all the books that I'm hoping to read in March. I am not the best at sticking to TBRs because I'm a mood reader through and through, but I still like to make TBRs just to kind of keep me on track and set like a goal number of books I want to read. So I made a list of I think 22 books, which is like a crazy number. I do not expect to read that many books this month. Many of these books are being carried over from February, and I also tried to do like a good mix of genres. I feel like I read mostly romance in February, and I'm also including a few arcs this month because I'm trying to raise that NetGalley rating, you know? Mine is not doing so hot right now. So I have a good assortment of books and I'm just ready to talk about them. So let's get into it. Also, I guess I should like address what's going on behind me. I had a pipe burst a couple weeks ago and they had to drill a hole in my wall and they haven't been able to come out and fix it yet. We're waiting on the people to tell us when that can happen. So that's what's up with the weird background right now. Anyway, the first book is one that I wanted to read in February. It's Dream On by Angie Hockman. I have not read an Angie Hockman book before, but I bought this in January. I went book shopping and I texted my friend Bethany and I said, hey, I'm going book shopping, but I don't know what to get. Do you have any book recommendations? And she said this one was super cute. So I bought it and I think it's gonna be perfect for spring because of like the flower vibes. I think it's because the people meet in a flower shop, but it is a mostly closed door romance. It sounds really cute and the cover alone makes me want to just read it right now. And I'm really excited for it. Next, I'm hopping on the bandwagon, finally getting around to it since it's been on my TBR for months. I'm gonna read Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Mark my words, I will be reading it in March because I've wanted to read it for so long and just so many people have told me I have to read it. It's toxic relationships in high society London and it's often compared to Gossip Girl, which like, yes, please sign me up. So I'm very excited to read this book and stop missing out. And I've also like not heard too many spoilers about it. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. Next is Song of Achilles. I've had this book for over a year and I've wanted to read it for longer than that. But this for some reason to me like screams March. Like it just screams like early spring to me. I don't know why, but I know a lot of people say it's their favorite book and I've heard just so many good things about it. I also love that it's Greek mythology because I really like Greek mythology, but I don't know too much about it and I've been trying to read more of it, so I'm excited to get to this. I do know that the end is very sad, but you know, it's a love story, it's Greek mythology, it's gonna be really good, and I'm ready to get my heart broken. Another book that I've had forever that a lot of people say is one of their favorite books, if not their favorite, is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I wanted to read this for such a long time. I went through my Christina Lauren phase definitely in like 2021. I was going through a bunch of their books and I honestly don't know why I didn't read this one, but it's time. This has been on my TBR for too many months now and I'm finally gonna read it. It's childhood friends to lovers. It's compared a lot to Second Chance Summer by Carly Fortune. And I think the couple like writes together or reads together or something, which is just so cute and I'm so ready to read it. I feel like a lot of the time I really like Christina Lauren books and I think this one is not going to be an exception. Next up is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. If you know me at all, you would know that I am a huge Sarah Adams fan. I just adore everything that she writes. I love her so much as a person. And this is the one book that I haven't read by her. Somehow I still haven't gotten to it, but it is time. If you can't tell, March is kind of the month of me finally reading books that I've had on my TBR for forever. So this is definitely going to get read this month. It is a closed-door sports romance between a football player and a dancer, and I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I'm very excited to get to it. I also recently learned that I love a good sports romance, so I'm very, very pumped to read this. Next, I have a book that is on my 12 books from 12 book besties list on Instagram, and it's called Starling by Kirsten Cram. This is definitely like a very obscure book. Not many people have heard of it. I know I hadn't until I was told to read it. It is getting slowly more popular, I think, but it is about these two kids who have really hard upbringings, and it is kind of just a story following their childhood together. And I've heard that it is a little heart-wrenching, but I'm ready to read it. It sounds really incredible, and the person who recommended it to me said just really amazing things about it, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. Next, I want to finish a series that I started last month, and that is the Shades of Magic trilogy. Oh my gosh, I started this last month, as I just said, literally just said, but I read A Darker Shade of Magic last month. It was incredible. I buddy read it with somebody and we were just fangirling, obsessing over it the entire time. I so quickly grew attached to the characters and the setting. It takes place in these parallel versions of London. It's a fantasy with magic in it, and it is so incredible. I don't want to give too much away because reading these, you know, it's sequels, so I don't want to tell you too much, but I'm very, very excited to dive into them and see how the story ends. But I'm also very concerned because there's a lot going on and I'm kind of scared for the characters' lives and what's going to happen, but I need to find out. So these will be read very soon. Next is a book that I bought in January. It is Beartown by Frederick Bachman. This is the person who wrote Anxious People and A Man Called Uva. I think I want to read this in March because if I don't, I have a feeling I won't read it until next winter because it takes place in like winter. It follows this really small community called Beartown, and it follows their hockey team, which is like their pride and joy. Then something happens very traumatic within the community and it kind of sets off this chain of events. I don't know much more about it, but it sounds really good. Everybody I know has given it 5 stars and just raves about it. If you want to read it, I definitely would look up the trigger warnings because it does deal with some very heavy topics, but I think it's going to be incredible and I'm really looking forward to hopefully reading it in March. Next up, we have another book on my 12 books from 12 book besties list. Wow, that is a tongue twister. This was recommended by my friend Lucy. So Lucy, if you're watching, hi, I love you. It is Waiting for Tom Hanks by Carrie Winfrey. This is about this girl who basically wants to be the next Nora Ephron, and she's always looking for her romance, her perfect meet cute. And she ends up working on this movie in the city that she lives in and meets the lead actor in the movie, and they hit it off. Apparently they don't exactly have a meet cute, but obviously it is a romance, so it will probably turn out to be really cute. Lucy says it's really cute and I think it's going to be really good. It's also really short, so I'm excited to fly through it, and yeah, I'm really excited to read this one in March. And then another book that's on my 12 book besties list. I'm just apparently going through all of those this month. This one was recommended also by Lucy and multiple other people. It is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I found out in February that I am a big fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read 2 of her books and I am now obsessed. So also, if anybody has tips on how to get these stickers off, please tell me. I wish Target would stop using them because they destroy my book covers. But besides the point, I've heard really good things about this. There's a movie coming out really soon, so I definitely want to read it before the movie comes out. It is about this woman who falls in love with someone, they get married, and then he gets in a plane crash and disappears. So she is heartbroken, but eventually moves on and falls in love with somebody else. And then one day, her husband, who got in the plane crash, shows up at her door. And I don't know what happens, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty dramatic, and I'm definitely ready to find out. I don't know, this book, the premise just sounds so intriguing and I'm very excited to read it. Next, I am continuing my journey going through Coho's backlog, and I'm going to read All Your Perfects, hopefully by Colleen Hoover. This one I've heard really great things about. I have really high hopes for it. A lot of people I know have rated it 5 stars, and I think this is going to be one of the ones that I really fall in love with. It follows a married couple and the strain and the ebb and flow of their relationship through infertility and I think cheating. So definitely some trigger warnings. I don't usually love cheating too much in books, but I've just heard such great things about it, and it is Colleen Hoover. As I said, I like her books, so I think it's going to be very good. And then also, to continue the Coho backlist reading, I'm going to hopefully read Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. This one I don't know much about. All I really know is it's about this mother and daughter who have a very strained relationship, and then they end up both falling in love with somebody else, and that's where they find like their happiness or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me, but I've heard very mixed reviews about this book, but it's on Kindle Unlimited and I have it in my library, so might as well read it, give it a shot, because I want to read all of her books at some point anyway, and I'm hoping I'm one of the people who ends up really enjoying it. Next, after reading A Darker Shade of Magic last month. I am back in my V.E. Schwab era. I'm just wanting to go through all of her books right now. So I'm hoping to reread The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I read this in 2021 and it instantly became one of my favorite books I've ever read. I just absolutely adore everything about this book. And if I'm not going to read it in the fall, I feel like March is a good time for some reason. It just seems right. I love that it takes place in France and New York. I love the premise of the story about a girl that nobody can remember. It's just such an entrancing story. I love it so much, and it's been far too long since I've read it, so I'm really hoping to give this one a reread. Next up, if you've seen any of my other videos, you might know this is coming. I'm hoping to continue my Harry Potter reading journey with The Half-Blood Prince. I wanted to read this last month but didn't get around to it because it's pretty thick, but I'm loving reading Harry Potter for the first time. I'm on the 6th book right now and I'm really excited for it. I've seen all the movies multiple times, but not for years, so I don't remember much about what happens, so it's kind of going to be very surprising for me, and I'm really excited about it. Just had to get this book because I forgot it. But next is A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I am one of the biggest Hunger Games fans ever. Like, you can argue with me, but I'm still going to think that I am one of the biggest fans. I've had this book since it came out a couple years ago, and I have avoided reading it. Because once I'm done, like, that's it for Hunger Games books, and the thought makes me so sad. So I've avoided it, but it's time. I'm ready to read it because the movie's coming out this year, and I just really miss the Hunger Games, so I want to reread the whole series this year, starting with this one. This is basically President Snow's villain origin story, I guess, if you want to think of it that way. I'm so excited. I think it's going to be so good. I've heard some mixed reviews, but I think I'm going to love it because, honestly, how could I not love a book that centers around any Hunger Games characters? I'm so excited, but also mourning being done with it already. Next up, I have Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I've had this since November, I think, and I just haven't gotten around to it because it is, you know, a bit thick because Stephen King tends to write really long books. But I love Stephen King books. There have been very few books that I've read by him that I did not end up enjoying, but this one is very intriguing to me because it's a fantasy, and obviously he typically writes horror, so I love reading a different genre from an author than you're expecting, and I've heard good things about this one, so I'm excited to get into it, hopefully. But it's really long, so maybe I won't get to it in March, but we'll see. Life of a mood reader. Next, I have Take a Bow, Noah Mitchell by Tobias Madden. This follows two boys who do musical theater together and they game together, but one of them doesn't know that the other person is the person that they're gaming with. If that makes any sense, I feel like I could not have explained that in a more confusing way. But basically, it is a romance. I picked it up because I got it as an ARC, so I need to read it, but also because it is about musical theater, which I personally love. So I think I'm really gonna enjoy it. Actually, spoiler alert, I'm about 150 pages in right now and I am really enjoying it, but I think the book as a whole is going to be really good, so I'm excited to finish it, see what the ending is. But yes, this is an ARC that I'm reading in March. Next, we have Black Cake. I have not started this, that's just a bookmark from the library. I don't really know what this is about at all. I've just had it recommended to me by several people. People just rave about this book and say that it's just incredible. It has a really good rating on Goodreads, and I'm trying to branch out more this year. This is definitely out of my comfort zone, but I think it's gonna be a good time. I think I'm really gonna like it, so I'm excited to give it a shot and see what I think. Next, I have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This one is a book that I wanted to read at the end of 2021 when it first came out. I almost got it from Book of the Month and then didn't, and I've just never gotten around to it since then, but I really want to because it has incredible ratings on Goodreads. People just seem to love it. I really love thriller mystery books, but I haven't read any in a long time because I kind of got burnt out on them because I read so many in a row, so I'm really excited to get back into that phase of reading, starting with this one. I really just got cut off in the middle of talking about a book. Anyway, the next book is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. This one I've heard very mixed reviews about, mostly not great ones. I don't know anything about it, but this author is the person who wrote In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, which I read last February, I think, and I absolutely love that book. I gave it 5 stars. It was so incredible, and that alone made me want to read this next book because I feel like it's going to be really good. As soon as I read that book last year, I put this one on my TBR. It's been long awaited and it's finally time. I got it from the library, so I'm excited to read that this month. And hopefully I'll like it. Hopefully the negative reviews won't be how I feel. And then the last book is another arc, another one that I know nothing about because I like to go into books mostly blind, but it is Into the Light. This is by the same author who wrote Anger is a Gift, if you've ever heard of that. I read that book a few years ago and I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was absolutely incredible. And so when I heard that he was writing a new book, I requested it on NetGalley because I want to read it. Again, don't know much about it, but I'm really excited to read it this month, and it comes out I think on March 28th, so I will read it soon so I can read it and review it before it comes out. So those are all the books that I'm hoping to get to in March. Who knows, we'll see. I don't usually read that many, but again, mood reader, this gives me a lot of options, and I'm really hoping to stick to this as much as possible. If you've read any of these books or have anything to say about any of them, I would love for you to comment below. Or as always, my socials will be linked below if you want to be friends, follow me on my Bookstagram or my Goodreads. So yes, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one.